Hi, I'm Matt Dembling, current president of the board of directors here at SLOC. We should be gearing up to begin rehearsals for our 94th season opener right now. Sadly, due to the ongoing pandemic, we have made the difficult decision to cancel our in-person season to ensure the safety of our cast, crews, volunteers, and patrons. However, we are still very much here, bringing the arts to the community in some new and exciting ways. We'll have ticketed virtual events in place of our in-person shows this year. Follow us on social media or visit the website at www.sloctheater.org to learn more. We'll also be bringing you frequent digital content featuring some of your favorite SLOC talents and new and different art forms, interviews, and information that isn't always possible to produce when we're focused on our main stage shows. We look forward to staying connected with you this year. We ask for you to consider clicking the donate link in this post and supporting our efforts with a tax-deductible gift. We count on our ticket sales to allow us to keep operating, and without that revenue this year, we are counting on your generosity to help us continue to thrive. No amount is too small, and every dollar you donate will help us get through until we can open our doors again in person. Whether you have been in our space before or are seeing us now for the first time, we thank you for being part of our SLOC family. We now present our interview with former president and long-standing member Della. Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Dembling. I am the president of Schenectady Light Opera Company, and with me today I have Della, longtime member and previous president. Tom, I want to start by asking us if you feel comfortable with it. Can we take off our masks since we are 6 feet apart?
6 feet apart, no problem.
Excellent. That way everybody can hear us a bit better.
And they can see a smile.
Yes, definitely. Hopefully we'll be doing more of that, yes. So I just had a few questions to ask you. You know, being the current president of SLOC in this pretty crazy time, there are, it's unprecedented, and I just wanted to just touch on a bit of you as a whole.
Always happy to talk about me.
Awesome. So I guess my first question is, how did you get started at SLOC?
Okay. I moved to Schenectady in 1971, and I was an intern at Central Park Junior High School at the time. And I got to know some of the staff, and one of the teachers at the school, Howard Moyer, was very active in SLOC. And in the fall of '72, when the company moved into the old Opera House up on State Street, he was cast the lead in the very first show ever put on there, Jacques Brel, Alive and Well, Living in Paris. And as a colleague in the building, I said, well, I'm going to go see Howard perform in a show. So I came over to watch SLOC. And I loved the show. I was happy to see Howard. And I knew one or two other people there from a couple other things. So it was kind of nice. And then the following year, I got involved with the theater at Linton High School. And through that, my partner in crime there was a very talented guy named Ron Kidd. And Ron was also acting at SLOC, and he was directing at the high school, and he and I did 30 shows over 10 years at the high school, so we were very active doing theater. When he got cast in Once Upon a Mattress, the lead in that was a young woman I was dating at the time named Patty Grant, and Ron was playing the Wizard or the King or some character in that show. And so I started hanging around the show because two of my best friends were in the show, and I started taking pictures, because they didn't have a photographer in those days. And so I became kind of, never officially, but for the next 7 or 8 shows at SLOC, I did the photographs. I just came in, nothing formal as we do here now, but I was the photographer. So that got me involved in a lot of different shows. And then in '77, Ron and I put on The Apple Tree, which is not a wonderful show, but a great first act. The Diary of Adam and Eve, which is written by Mark Twain, is just absolutely a delight. The other 2 shows are memorable, forgettable. And during that time, I became very good friends with Joe Fava and Don Mealy, who were soon to be the president and vice president of SLOC. And so through them, and it just kept going on. And then Joe was doing a show called Carnival, which I haven't seen anybody do in 100 years, but we did it in 1978. And he cast me as a strongman. I did not audition. He came to me after he cast the show and said, I need a strongman. You interested? So I put on a Tarzan outfit and stood up stage and lifted weights for the entire show, the sight gag thing that happened at the end. But anyway, so that was my first on-stage performance with SLOC, and my last until the 90th anniversary show.
Wow.
When I got on stage again here. But I did a lot of stuff off the stuff. So that was from 73 till 83. And in 83, I stepped away from theater completely because I got married, and I became president of the Teachers Union. And I said, I don't have time to do theater. So I stopped doing high school shows, and except as a patron, I didn't do much at SLOC. I gave money every year, came to every show. That was my involvement with SLOC for over 20 years. I was there. Everybody knew me because I was always there at every show, but I wasn't doing anything except being a loyal subscriber to SLOC. Then, after I retired from teaching and became a member of City Council, there was ulterior motives I didn't know at the time, but I was approached by several board members to run for a position on the board. And I said to all of them, look, I haven't been active since 1983. Who's going to remember me? And they said, everybody remembers you. Just run. We just need names on the ballot. You know, we got to fulfill the thing. You're just taking up space. Okay, fine. Put my name down. I didn't care. And I won, which I wasn't expecting to win. And so that started my second career as an active part of SLOC, which started in 2011 or 2012. From 2012 till now, that's my second era of SLOC activity. And in this era, I became president of the company, and I was also, the ulterior motive to getting me involved was that there was a financial crisis coming that they weren't announcing to anybody, and they wanted someone who had political ties to be on the board. That's my belief. They never admitted that. I can't imagine why else my name would have come up. So anyway, and I think most people watching this know that we had a major crisis where after a 3-year lapse in filing with the IRS, SLOC lost its 501c3 designation. And so the first 18 months of my presidency, the first full year, and then no one wanted the job after my first year, so I was elected by acclamation for the second term. No one wanted to do the job. So 18 months of trying to dig us out from under that horrible, because that meant not only were we in trouble with the federal government, we would have to refund money to all the people who donated to us thinking we were 501c3, and they were going to have to pay taxes on the money they gave us.
That's very scary.
It was a very scary proposition. And I said during my first year, and I became aware of the depth of the problem, I said, I'm going to be known as the guy who led SLOC when it folded. You know, after 90 years, I'm here and we're collapsing. It's gone.
Right.
It was it's just terrifying. Lots of people were involved in getting us out of the mess. John Samatolsky was one of them. Peter Caracappa. Without Peter, we wouldn't have gotten out of it. Peter became the ace in the hole on the financial end. He understood numbers way better than I did. I understand words. I was an English teacher and a theater guy. No, I can do numbers, but you give me tax forms, I give them to my accountant. I don't deal with taxes. But Peter understood them, and he worked his butt off. And I spent, I'm going to say my first year on the job, 75 to 80 hours on the phone with a guy in Cincinnati from the IRS.
Wow.
The Cincinnati office was in charge of us. So, talk to this guy. And then so finally, after 18 months, we get a letter. We're back in good standing. We're forgiven. You know, everything we did in the past is gone. Retroactively restored 501c3. And I take a deep breath and go, God, we got out of it. Thank goodness. Not a month later, we got a bill for $10,000 saying we owed for the time that we were in arrears. And I also remember local taxes also were involved here. Remember paying property tax on
You
this
said we were reinstated
retroactively. But a different office sent the letter. This time I'm talking to a guy in West Virginia, no longer Cincinnati. A guy in West Virginia I've got to talk to now and say, wait, the letter says retroactively. None of this should count. And it took us, Peter had to do more paperwork, and we got out of that too. So finally, we put it all to bed. it was a terrible cloud hanging over the company for my entire presidency, except for the last few months of it.
Well, you lifted it. You helped lift it.
Well, yeah, we got off that, but it made it very difficult to be president of the company when theater was not the first priority, but taxes and finances and property taxes and dealing with every kind of government there was. Because that was the other thing. We started thinking about 3 years of taxes on this building, which we had just paid several $1 million to buy.
Right.
That would have broken the company. That would have
Yes.
been why the company folded. We couldn't pay the local taxes, let alone the federal taxes.
Right.
Because federal taxes weren't that much. But not being 501c3, it meant local taxes and state taxes now applied to the company.
That's a very scary thing.
So we got out of it, and since then, Nell she was part of the plan getting us out of it, she and Peter, and she'd been very good at making sure those forms get filed every year now.
Yes.
So that was how, long story, how I got into the company, but that was how that all happened. It
Wow.
It was a wonderful thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, through all of that, what has been your favorite experience with SLOC?
Okay. The early days, it was just fun being part of something new, and I was young and energetic and all those good things. But in the second run, when I was active in running the company, and I was on the board for 10 years or 9 years, the production of Hair was my favorite part of being in this show, in the company. And part of it was that Mike Atzendorfer, who directed that one, when he decided he wanted to do it, he called me, because he was on the board at that time too. He's technical director, in fact, a role you have filled.
Yes.
And he called and said, would I be willing to be a dramaturge for him for the show, because he wasn't born in 1967, and he wanted someone who remembered some of this stuff to be involved.
Right.
So I was the dramaturge for the show. And so not only was I part of the board, and I was part of the reason the show worked. Cast every night would come to me with some question about a line they had in the show. One of my favorites was, drawing a blank on a name, but the gentleman who played Berger, who I know as well as my own name, but I'm drawing a blank.
Nick
Thank you.
Muscatello.
Nick came up to me after one rehearsal and said, what was Rinse So White? Was that a drug? And I said, no, Rinse So White was a laundry detergent. But there was a line in the show, everything was so Rinse So White.
Yep.
And he had no idea what that meant. So that was one of my funnier, but the kinds of things that came up all the time. And back when first rehearsal, Michael asked me to do a 10-minute overview of the 60s for the crowd.
I remember that.
You may remember that because you were there. And so I kind of rushed through the whole civil rights movement, the assassination of Kennedy, the Beatles, the drug culture, the free speech movement, all the stuff that led to these two crazy guys, Ratto and Reagney, writing this crazy show. And at the end of that spiel, I said, one of my favorite moments of being involved in the show, I said, for those of you who are thinking about the final scene of Act One, you need to remember that everyone had pubic hair in 1967, and the entire cast broke up. I kind of broke the ice on the nudity part of the show. So that was kind of a funny moment there. And the show was just a great memory. Everything about that show, I have fond memories of. So.
And the cast definitely, it was a great bonding experience.
Every show becomes a family, and we all know that. But the bonds in that show just seemed to me to be stronger because people got naked together on the stage.
You got very vulnerable.
That's really a huge thing. Remember the first dance rehearsal, when Brittany had you all lying on the floor doing that crazy, all touching each other?
Yep.
Well, from the get-go, you guys had to be vulnerable.
We had to be very close and vulnerable, yes.
And so it really built I would love to get that cast together for a reunion, but
yeah, definitely.
I don't think it could ever happen because we're all over the place now. Where the hell's Grace? Is she still out in Montana or somewhere?
I don't know.
She's performing all over the place. But
definitely.
That was a fun group.
Yes. So that was your favorite experience with you in SLOC as a whole, but what about as president? If there could be one takeaway.
Remember Rosanna from Saturday Night Live?
Yeah.
Della Radner's character? As she would say at the end of every monologue, it's always something. Well, that's what I remember being president of SLOC. No matter what problem you resolved, something else popped up. They were hitting the damn whack-a-mole.
Yep.
You hit one, another one comes up. There's always something happening that just makes it challenging. And I guess the other thing was getting to deal with the IRS. It's funny because my daughter-in-law, my son's wife, is an auditor for a big company, and she audits nonprofits. That's her job in the Rochester area. She audits all the nonprofits. They bring their paper to her, and she does their annual audits like we do with the company here. And so when I was telling her about this, she was the only person I've told that understood everything I was saying. She understood every form, every question. It was great.
I'm sure she was a big help too then, right?
Well, she lives in Rochester, so it wasn't really as big a help if she had lived here.
Right.
But it was nice having someone I could talk to who understood what I was losing my mind over.
Yeah.
But of course, she wasn't with the IRS. She was with an accounting firm, so
Right.
she couldn't give me answers that I would have needed. But
So you said for the first 7 or so years, did I get that right? You were involved with SLOC, you weren't on the stage?
no, not on stage at all. Just
So
I was a hanger-on. I hung around.
you found some volunteer opportunities besides being an actor on the stage.
Correct. I became the photographer. As I said, that was my first, and I just did that because my girlfriend and my best friend were in the show, and I was taking pictures of them, and it became, well, take a picture of me. So I was taking a picture of everybody, and that's how it grew into that.
So I know you're saying you kind of fell into it,
Yeah.
but if you were to give some advice on people that would want to volunteer, how they could get into volunteering at SLOC.
Well, if you want to be a volunteer in a theater company, you first have to figure out what it is you can contribute. What skill, I mean, I had no skill at the time except I knew people. That's kind of been my entree to everything I've ever done in my
Knowing people,
life.
yep.
I know people and get involved. But know what you can offer and then approach someone in a show, because if you're interested, you know someone in a show. That's kind of the automatic. Howard Moyer for me, I knew Howard, I got involved through him. So, and then volunteer to do something. Whether that's work on costumes, paint a set, there's never a shortage of things that need to be done and volunteer that are needed. Be an usher. You know, just so many different things you can do to be involved in theater. And then become part of the group. The company is what matters. Connie Rahauser and I frequently say that you come to SLOC for the theater and you stay for the community. And so we're a community theater. Yeah, but that's exactly what it is. You come in because there's something about this. Being on this stage today, right now, it's such a lift for me.
Me too.
After 4 months to 5 months, whatever it's been now, of nothing.
Right.
Finally, I'm on stage again.
Yeah.
To see Forum up here and say, God, I saw your dress rehearsal. I never saw
Yep.
the show.
This is a lovely view that we have, and I know we pointed the camera at the audience, but I'm sure we have a couple of pictures up on our Facebook page of this set.
Yeah, but it's just a joy to be here again.
Yeah, definitely.
I miss theater. I miss people.
So, where would you like to see SLOC in 5 or 10 years from now?
Well, financially stable, which given this current year, that's going to be a difficult thing to do.
Definitely.
So I'd like to see them financially stable. Did we qualify for any of this PPE money or anything like that? Was SLOC as a nonprofit able to apply for any of that?
We yes and no. We are still looking into it because it is still it's extended and we are looking into it, but theaters are difficult to kind of fit the mold there.
Yeah, well, I know. My daughter has 2 restaurants. In the first round, they didn't qualify.
Right.
They did the second round.
Well, especially because I believe a lot of that is centralized around employees. And,
Yeah.
And SLOC has no employees. We don't pay anyone
Correct.
to be here. We're here because we want to. But we have some things coming up, as you've seen. At the beginning of this video, we asked people to donate on our website. Mm-hmm. And we have some events coming up, which hopefully are bigger events that we can charge admission to. We're going to keep people entertained, even if it's outside of this space.
Good. So That's one, financially stable. Two, I know it's already started, which is encouraging, be more inclusive in terms of the kinds of shows we pick and how we cast them. We made some steps. I don't think SLOC was ever exclusive, but I think we could have been more, and I think we will be more in the future. So I want to see more of that, especially in some of our casting decisions. There have always been some you question.
That's kind of difficult. It's difficult when we give a director full reign over their own show,
Sure.
which they should have.
Absolutely.
But that also includes casting. So SLOC as a company, I'm sure you know, has very little say in casting decisions
Correct.
and in
As it should be.
the artistic direction of that production.
But I think maybe what we need to do is spend more time with the director before they cast and explain what we're looking for.
Sure.
Make them aware of our goals. And they can't always be met, we get that. But
Right.
at least make them aware of what we'd like to see if it's possible.
I agree.
I mean, I remember I hired teachers for 10 years of my teaching career. And I always tried to bring in more minority teachers. But when you have 20 interviews and all 20 are not minorities, you can't hire a minority. They weren't there to be hired. And that was a constant frustration for me. And that happens in theater. You have auditions, you look around the group and you have 1 or 2 minority people and you need 10. What do I do now? So that becomes part of what the problem is. It's a tough one, but I think we need to work on that.
Definitely. And actually, we just established our diversity committee.
I'm
and
aware. That's the first step you made in that direction.
Yes, and they're in full force already. They have a couple of events coming up, which are very exciting, to gather some people
Good.
together.
I actually volunteered to be part of that, but I couldn't make that very first Zoom meeting thing, and
Yes.
it fell apart. But
I'm sure there'll be more of those.
given the people that you put in charge of it, they're people I love dearly. And they're both from Hare,
Yes.
speaking of our
Yes.
show.
Yes.
So I reached out to both of them initially and said, if you need a 70-year-old white guy to say anything, let me know. So that was that. And the other thing I would like to see is continue to do cutting-edge things. One show a year that is not mainstream, is not what most people would think about when they think of Broadway, but that matters. And we've done some of them. We've done some great ones. Hair being one, I think. Rocky Horror was one.
Not mainstream.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
typical Broadway musicals.
Right.
Yeah. So do some shows that are off. What's the one we just did on? Oh, come on. Blondie. Okay, this is a part of being old.
Blondie.
Wild Party.
Wild Party. Yes.
That was one. I had not even heard of the show when
Right,
we
me
announced we
either.
were doing it. I had to do research. What the heck is Wild Party? That's the kind of thing I like when we do those kinds of shows.
Me too.
Brings in new audiences. Brings in
Yes.
people who wouldn't see otherwise. Hair brought in whole new audiences.
It really did. I remember that couple.
Yeah, that couple that came from New Jersey.
Right, but they go to like every community theater production of Hair in the country.
That's what
They're on
they
their like
said.
500th production.
That's
it's
what they
insane.
said.
Crazy.
That's wild.
dedication.
Yes, that is dedication. I mean, I love the show, but I'm not doing that.
Right. A couple times is good. So I want to take it back a bit to what you and Connie say all the time. You come here for
Theater and stay.
theater and stay for community. Why do you think theater, and SLOC in particular, is so important in the community?
Okay. Until relatively recently, there were not a lot of community theaters in this area. Now there are a large number of them.
Yes.
So many that we're competing for donors and for casts and for directors, which is a good and bad thing. It means lots of opportunities, but it also makes it harder to get the quality or the people you want.
Right.
So, but back in the day when I was first starting out, that wasn't true. And so SLOC became a place where people who liked to sing and dance and act could come and be seen on stage, and there weren't that many options. And we had people from all over the capital region coming to be in our shows, because we were the only game in town doing musical theater. There were lots of civic theaters, like Schenectady Civic and Albany Civic, but musical theater, there weren't a lot back in the day. So that changed. So we offered an outlet for creative people to come and be creative, and that's still what we do. And we still attract some really, really, really good people because we now have a reputation of being a company that values people, that values quality, and that encourages it. So that's what I think we offer in terms of that. And the other sense is we offer a relatively low-cost way for people to see quality musical theater. We've done a couple productions here that I like better than the road shows at Proctor's. Immediately, Cabaret comes to mind. I thought our
yes.
Cabaret was equal to or better than the one that played at Proctor the year before.
Absolutely fabulous. Speaking of Peter Caracappa.
Speaking of Peter, yes. So we've done shows at that level consistently. I mean, that one jumps out because I remember I was so blown away with that
Yes.
production. He just did such a great job. That was he and Greg, right? Greg did
Yep,
the choreography
Greg
for that? Yeah. That was a good, really good team and a good show. So,
I like what they did. They extended the stage a bit, too,
yes, they did.
which was fantastic.
Yeah.
Different use of the space. I like seeing that.
And the dance numbers in that show were just awesome.
Phenomenal.
So, we're a place where you can see quality theater for relatively low cost, and a place where talented people can come and express themselves on a stage and be applauded for it. And when you're community theater, that's your pay. You get applauded for what you do.
That's why I do it.
And that's why people do it. And it's great fun.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for this time. I appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
I hope our viewers appreciate it as well.
I hope so, too. I'm afraid they'll see my face and turn the TV off.
I doubt it. Are there any parting words you wish to give?
When all of this craziness ends, support local theaters. That's my only thing I can say. Send them a check. If you were going to buy a ticket to a show and there's no show, send them the value of the ticket. Send them a donation. I was going to buy a ticket to see Spring Awakening. You're not doing it right now. Here's $25. Do something to help local community theater. And that's not just SLOC. I mean, I'm partial to SLOC, but every community theater is just, we're going to need lots of assistance from people if we're going to survive. And if you value theater, this is the way to value theater.
Well, thank you very much, Tom.
My pleasure. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.